Hey there, gang. It's Todd Nauck, and I'm back with a brand new three-parter. This time I'm drawing Nightcrawler from the X-Men. I'm doing a regular Nightcrawler series. I'm drawing the new Nightcrawler regular monthly series coming out this April, April 9th. And when I first got the assignment to draw this series, one, I was very excited because I'm a big X-Men fan and a big Nightcrawler fan. He's been one of my favorite comic book characters since I was a teenager, as well as many of the other X-Men. So a chance to get to draw Nightcrawler on a monthly basis, it was very exciting for me. I felt I really needed to practice my Nightcrawler and really make sure I understand how the character looks visually. So I started doing a series of sketches, character studies, to get a feel for his body type, his facial structure, how he moves. These are things I've seen in comics for years, but it's a little different when it comes time to putting the character down on paper with my drawing skills. So I wanted to make sure I was as well practiced at drawing Nightcrawler as I could be outside of doing a handful of convention commissions. I haven't gotten to draw Nightcrawler all that much, so this was a great opportunity to start doing some sketches. So this is one of the practice pieces that I did just to get a feel for Nightcrawler and start to develop my style of drawing Nightcrawler. And as you can see here, I'm roughing in just the basic shapes and kind of tightening up certain details. Nightcrawler has a very unique look. He's got the three fingers, the three toes. He's got the pointy ears, as I'll be putting in here in a little bit. The guy has a pointed tail, so he's a very unique sort of looking character. And so in those regards, I wanted to make sure I got those details down right. And to help me do that, I looked up some of my favorite all-time X-Men artists. Like Dave Cockrum, the original creator of Nightcrawler. He's the artist who came up with Nightcrawler. Paul Smith and John Byrne, early Uncanny X-Men artists. Alan Davis, who drew Nightcrawler regularly in the X-Men spin-off Excalibur, and Arthur Adams, who drew Nightcrawler in all sorts of X-Men annuals and specials. So I really loved what these artists did, and I felt really drew the classic Nightcrawler. I also referenced some of the current artists, especially Ed McGuinness, who is drawing Nightcrawler in the Amazing X-Men comic book right now, which is a 5-part story that leads into Nightcrawler #1. So, I looked at what he was doing as well. I wanted to keep Nightcrawler looking classic, and I wanted my Nightcrawler to be reminiscent of those artists, but still bring my own flavor to it. So as you see here, I've zoomed in so we can see the details of the face, and I'm really putting in the tighter pencil lines that I'll then ink later in the second video. So you can see the difference of the lighter sketchy breakdown lines and the tighter detail lines. One of the distinguishing characteristics of Nightcrawler with most artists is the heavy shadows on his face. He's kind of for a lighthearted character, he's kind of got a darker look, which is a fun contrast. So really wanted to make sure I learned how those shadows fall across his face in a classic way, how they structure his face, how they shape his face, and how those shadows kind of merge in with his hair in an accurate way. I wanted to make sure I understood the science, quote end quote science of Nightcrawler's look and shadows and stuff. So that's was another big part of learning how to draw Nightcrawler. And then another big part of Nightcrawler's look is his costume. It's a costume that's stood the test of time. I think it's pretty unique, and even though he's gone through some costume changes, especially through the late '90s and through the early 2000s, we kind of tend to come back to his original look. He was a circus performer prior to joining the X-Men, and I think that sort of kind of acrobat costumes still comes into play. It's very distinctly Nightcrawler and very easily recognizable anytime people, especially X-Men fans, see him. That's a one of a kind sort of look. And so that's the costume we're going with for this series. Is his original classic costume, the costume that says this is Nightcrawler. So wanted to make sure I got a feel for that, for the shoulder pieces, how they fit, how the costume, the red part comes down the center, and then the the black on the sides and the black collar coming down to a point towards his chest. Some people take it really low. I liked how Ed McGuinness was keeping it a little bit higher, so it gave a little more red in his costume. So those were things I consider we're keeping in mind, I should say. And here with his hands, his gloves, the upper arm wristbands that are also repeated on the legs, how to shape the knuckles of Nightcrawler. Uh, these are all sorts of things I wanted to consider. I'm going to fill in some of the black areas here. Not really necessary oftentimes when I'm doing my pencils where I know I'm going to ink my own work. I know that all that spot's going to be filled in black, but I chose to fill it in black here for the benefit of this video so that you, the viewer, can see how it looks when it's filled in black. Some of y'all might not be familiar with Nightcrawler yet, so that I wanted to give you the full effect of his look and design here in the pencil stage, for sure. As you can see, the body type for Nightcrawler is muscular, but still pretty lean. He's a kind of an acrobatic character. He's pretty strong, not superhuman strong, but he's no slouch. So I really wanted to make sure I got the feel for his body structure, the length of his limbs and his body. Make sure that all I felt comfortable with drawing his body shape consistently, and that's what I shoot to do with any character that I'm going to be drawing on a regular basis, is to get some practice in prior to drawing the series. So we're getting down here to the lower part of his legs here, and you can see how the boots come together, similar to the gloves. It's kind of a band that has a little drop down part right there, and then a circular part in the wider part of the band. He has the 2 toes in the front and 1 toe in the back, and haven't gotten to that back toe yet. Got the front 2 toes, and then there's the back toe. You got to make sure when you're drawing Nightcrawler you don't forget that 3rd toe that comes off of his heel. So even though the majority of his costume is spotted in black and will be just solid black, I like to structure in the muscles and joints accurately, so that when it is just the silhouette of that black, everything's where it needs to be and is in its proper place. So even though all those muscle lines or the musculature will not show up in the inked version, having drawn it, I know where it is, and I'm able to keep it as accurate or comic book accurate as possible. So when you're doing your art, draw all the way through. You know, it's like follow through when you're throwing a ball or swinging a bat in baseball. You follow through. Same thing with drawing. You want to follow through and not skip a step there. Even though you're not going to see all those muscle lines in his legs in the finished inks, having drawn them in, I know where they're going to be, and I can keep the leg shape looking as accurate as possible. And then this here is the devil's tail of Nightcrawler here. It's a long prehensile tail with kind of that classic little devil's point at the end. Interestingly enough, which is another thing that makes Nightcrawler an interesting character, even though he looks like a devil or a demon, he's actually a character of faith. So that's I think that's a kind of a cool aspect, cool twist on the character. That despite his looks, the character, the man inside, is different than what people would expect from the outside. I guess that's kind of the case with most any of the X-Men, and what makes their storyline so much fun. So almost done here with the pencils. I appreciate y'all tuning in and being so patient for my next video. I'll have part 2 with the inks and part 3 with the Copic colors in the coming weeks. And Nightcrawler #1 is on sale April 9th. So when you're at the comic shop, make sure you add it to your pull list or your subscription service, whatever it takes to make sure you don't miss an issue. Here is the scan of the pencils, and you can also see a shot of this on my Facebook fan page in the link below. Feel free to click on there, and we'll see you real soon with the next chapter.